And the 7th-seeded Nets fell to Dame Dalla and the Blazers last night, but Karis LeVert could give Brooklyn fans a little bit of hope as they enter the first round against the Raptors. With the absences of Kyrie Irving and Spencer Dinwiddie, LeVert has stepped up in a big way during the restart. LeVert has the 4th highest usage rate in the league behind only Devin Booker, Giannis, and Luka Doncic. And now ESPN NBA analyst David Fizdale joining us for the discussion. All right, next year, the Nets have even more hope as KD will return, Kyrie Irving will return. So, Stephen A. Smith, I got to ask you, are the Nets destined for the NBA Finals next season?
I believe they are. I really, really do. Because, I mean, obviously the Greek Freak and, it could be standing in their way. Toronto is never a team led by Masai Ujiri that you can underestimate. But when you look at the way that these guys have been performing, particularly in the bubble, when you look at Karis LeVert and what he brings to the table, let's take into account what they don't have at their disposal. They don't have Kyrie Irving. They don't have Kevin Durant. They don't have Spencer Dinwiddie. They don't have Taurean Prince. They don't have DeAndre Jordan. I mean, my God. And still, they go out there and have competed the way that they have competed. They have shooters, they have scorers, they play hard, they play together, they do what they can. And this is without not one, not two, but 4 or 5 different guys that could potentially start for them. And so when I look at that and I think about the Eastern Conference and I think about the greatness of Kevin Durant, because make no mistake, he's great. He's one of the top scorers in the history of the game of basketball. Kyrie Irving is an absolute showman. This brother will put on a show for anybody. You can contemplate what he might take away or whatever the case may be. But when you look at the talent that they have on their squad, I can't say enough about the job that Sean Marks has done as the executive for this team, the GM, because if you think about it, the collection of talent, they had 8 different guys averaging double figures for them this season, period. You cannot ignore that. The Brooklyn Nets are clearly coming, and one would argue they have arrived the moment Kevin Durant steps on the court healthy.
Well, that depends on Kyrie Irving, Stephen A. You know, we were asked to come up with one word to describe Kyrie last year or months ago, and my word was radioactive. Because radioactivity, boy, that's powerful, but you got to harness it or it can be destructive. Kyrie Irving, there's no way around it. Like you mentioned, 8 different guys in double figures. Not with Kyrie playing point guard. That's not going to happen. Kyrie Irving has won a championship and has played great under pressure in the biggest moments. He's been great, and he is a champion. That was with LeBron James, who's like a master at team chemistry in the sense that he can lead a group of guys to the promised land or pretty close to it. You know, he understands how to make that work. But before LeBron got there, Kyrie didn't do anything. And after LeBron left, what happened? And when Kyrie went to Boston, you could say the same thing. Everything you just said about the Nets, you could have said about the Celtics. When Kyrie wasn't there, and then when he got there, they didn't do any better. In fact, they did worse, and then he got hurt, and then suddenly they did better again. And then he come back. You swap him out for a guy who does a lot of what he does but isn't bad in the locker room, and they do better again. And so the question, and by the way, did the Nets do great when Kyrie was there? He put on a show, no doubt, because I would argue he's the most skillful player who ever lived. When you think about what Kyrie can do on offense, what's the weakness in his game? I'm not talking about the wisdom to know when to apply everything. I mean the actual tangible skills. His handles are as good at least as anyone who ever lived. He finishes in the paint below the rim as good as anyone ever lived. He can shoot the lights out. He can pass the ball when he chooses, all those things. And he can kill you in the clutch. So why are his teams getting worse? The Nets have an excellent thing going. You can see LeVert is a baller. You can see they're well coached, and they try hard. They're not a demoralized team. Can Kyrie, if KD and Kyrie come back, can Kyrie help lead that group and put his own ego aside when he needs to, or use it to lead the group, or will he be a destructive force? That's what it's going to come down to. If he can harness that radioactivity, that's a nuclear power. If not, they will self-destruct next year.
Well,
David?
you know, I think one thing about it is that Kyrie Irving disrupted a Boston team that didn't have a guy like KD on it. But when he has played next to a superstar, good things have happened for him. So I think this situation is going to spell out ultimately if these guys can stay healthy. If they can all stay healthy and stay together, I agree. I think that the Nets really have a great chance of playing in the NBA Finals. I think that's really what it's going to come down to, because the offensive firepower on the team, the speed that they have, the playmaking, the spacing. They got two legit defensive lob threat bigs. I really think that they're going to be a tough team to deal with. And you talk about winning championships, they got two guys that's experienced that. And so, with that at the bookends, and all of those guys being hungry to play, I think they're going to be a really dangerous team for making the finals.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.